Hey guys, this video is going to go over some more examples of the power to a power rule. So just a little bit harder ones. All right, so quick review. When we have a power to a power rule, you might know the shortcut already, but if you don't, you can always expand it out. So I'm going to just do this first one the long way, and then I'll go through the shortcut way. So 5 squared, that's the same as writing 5 times 5. Okay, now it says do that to the third power. That means I need to do that 3 times. So I'm going to do 5 times 5 again, 5 times 5 again. Okay, now think about this. If I have 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, that's the same as saying 5 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 power. Okay, so that would be a simplified way to write that first one. Now, you might remember that the shortcut when you do this is you can, when you have a power to a power, you can actually multiply the exponents. So 2 times 3 gives you the 6 right here. Okay, same thing on this one. Again, I can write it out the long way. So x cubed, that's the same as saying x times x times x. And it wants that 4 times. So I have to do that. Same thing. I'm going to repeat it. X times x times x. And then I'll do it again. X times x times x. 4 times. And then if I combine those, it would be the same as x to the 12th. Okay, so my simplified answer for that one is x to the 12th. And again, if you remember the power to a power rule, 3 times 4 is 12, so it'd be x to the 12th. All right, let's do a little bit harder one that you haven't seen, and this was not in the last video. So if you have one that looks like this, now inside the parentheses, there's more than one thing. Okay, it says I'm going to square everything inside here. So here's how I would do it if I was doing it the long way first. So x cubed, that's the same as saying x times x times x. It also says times, because when it's right next to each other, it's times y to the 4th. So I'm going to do times y, times y, times y, times y. Okay, so this right here, I just rewrote it down here. That's kind of a big parentheses for that. Now I need to do that twice because the exponent is 2. So again, I'm going to do x times x times x, and then y to the 4th again. Okay, and I can put my dots in between there. So now let's see if I can, when you multiply, hopefully you guys remember, the order doesn't matter. So if I was just looking at this, x times x times x times x times x times x, that's the same as saying x to the 6th. Okay, down here, y times y times y times y, and then another y times y times y times y. There's 8 of those, so y to the 8th. This would be my simplified answer. Now, shortcut way to do that, if you remember, if you notice that this is a power to a power rule, you can actually multiply this 2 times both of these exponents. So you kind of need to do it to both. So you need to take x to the 3rd and square it. So 3 times 2 is 6. I'd get x to the 6th. Same thing here. I need to do y to the 4th. I need to square that, which would give me y to the 8th. So that would be my simplified answer. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, so this one I'm going to expand it out the long way first. So it says 3 times m squared. That would be m times m. Okay, again, I need to do that 3 times. So 3 times m, and then do it one more time. 3 times m times m. Okay, now if I want to rewrite my m so they're a little bit easier, so m times m times m times m times m times m, that's the same as saying m to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, m to the 6th. Okay, now what about this? 3 times 3 times 3. Another way to write that would be 3 to the 3rd. Okay, so my final answer for this can be 3 to the 3rd times m to the 6th. Now, you can also, if you want to actually figure out what 3 times 3 times 3 is, you can do that. So 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So I would also take for an answer for this, 27 m to the 6th. Okay, now if you want to use the shortcut for this, kind of the law that we learned, again, it's a power to a power, so I would multiply that and get m to the 6th. Here, since there's only 1 3, it's really like 3 to the 1st. So I'm also going to do that 3 times 1, which would give me 3 to the 3rd. So you can still use that little shortcut, and you'd still end up with 3 to the 3rd, m to the 6th. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, I want you to pause the video, and I want you to try this one without my help. See what you get. When you're ready to see the answer, push play. All right, I'm going to expand it. Again, this is what I would always do on a test if I were you guys. So I have 5 times x to the 4th. Again, when you put them right next to each other like I just did right here, you don't have to put those dots. You just know it's times And then I have times n. Now it says I need to do that twice because I'm squaring it. So I'm going to do 5 times x times x times x times x times n. Okay, so now to simplify that a little bit, let's go ahead and kind of use our other rule. So x times x times x times x times another 4x's would end up giving me x to the 8th. Okay, my n's, I see n times n. Well, that's the same as writing n squared. And then my 5's, I see 5 times 5. That's the same as writing 5 squared, or 25. Okay, so this would be my final answer. Now, you guys might have noticed that I put the 5 first. You're always going to see the number part first. Okay, then you'll see the variables. So I have 5 squared, x to the 8th, n squared. Now, again, if I wanted to use a shortcut, I'm going to kind of do this in green, the shortcut way. I would need to do everything inside this parentheses. I need to square it. Well, let's start with the 5. If you squared the 5, it would just be 5 squared. Or think of it like there's a little 1 there. X to the 4th, if I square that, power to a power, I'm going to get x to the 8th. And then n, I need to square it, so it just becomes n squared. So I got the same thing, either way I did it. All right, here's our next one. We haven't done one with a negative yet. So same thing, let's just use our shortcut on this one. So I need to cube everything inside here. So I'm going to start with the negative 5. Now, whenever I'm working with a negative number, I'm going to put that in parentheses. So I need to do negative 5, and I have to cube it. Okay, then I need to do x to the third power. So remember, a power to a power, you can multiply, and you end up with x to the 9th. And then here, m to the 4th to the third power. Again, it's a power to a power, so you can multiply, and you get m to the 12th. So my final answer, you can write it like this, or let's actually figure out what negative 5 to the third power is. Okay, so I'm going to write that out the long way. Negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. Okay, I'm going to do it one at a time. So negative 5 times negative 5. A negative times a negative is a positive 25. Okay, I use both of those. Now I need to do 25 times negative 5. Well, a positive times a negative is a negative, and then 25 times 5 is actually 125. So another way to write the final answer would be negative 125, and then x to the 9th, m to the 12th. All right, last one that you just haven't seen before, and it might be a little tricky, but when you see one like this, do you guys notice that this exponent is only on the outside of this parenthesis? So that exponent, that 4, only goes with this part. So the 2 I just keep right out front. I'm just going to rewrite it 2. Okay, now I'm going to do this, or if you want, you could put it in parentheses. Now this part, I need to take everything to the 4th power. So I need to do 4 to the 4th power. Okay, so I'll do 4 to the 4th power. I also need to do x to the 3rd to the 4th power. Okay, so remember, when you have a power to a power, you can multiply, so I get x to the 12th. Okay, now, if you have one like this, there's a couple of different ways you could write it. Okay, I could actually figure out what 4 to the 4th is, okay, and then I could times that by 2. So let's actually figure that out. Let's do 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, and then times that by 2. All right, so I'm going to do that. So 4 times 4 is 16. Another 4 times 4 is 16, and then 16 times 16. If you guys know that, otherwise you could just use a calculator. It's 256. And then times that 2 out front, so 256 times 2 gives me 512. And then I still have this x to the 12th. So that would be my final answer. Now, you could leave it like this, and I would definitely accept that. You could leave it like this. 2 times 4 to the 4th times x to the 12th. That also would be fine. All right, so we have learned 2 laws of exponents so far. So just quick refresher about both of those, so you make sure you're familiar with them. The first one is when I'm multiplying 2 exponents. This is called the product of powers rule. So when you multiply 2 like this, you end up adding the exponents. That was a little shortcut. So I end up with x to the 7th. Okay, and again, if you are unsure, write it out the long way. X to the 3rd and then x to the 4th. If you times those out, you get x to the 7th. Now this one, the second one, this is where you are doing the power to a power, so you can multiply those and you end up with x to the 12th. Again, if you ever get confused and you don't know those rules, I would want you to write it out the long way. X to the 3rd, you would do that 4 times. And I'm just doing it pretty quick. And then you should see that you end up with x to the 12th. All right, so you're going to practice using these laws of exponents now. If you have questions, please let one of your teachers know.